and welcome to workshop 5. In this workshop what we're going to look at is creating a reverse zone, and then what we're going to do is when we've created that reverse zone we're actually going to have a look at the network activity by using Wireshark to look at some DNS transactions. We're going to start introducing some new topics as well as part of the workshop, not in full, we'll cover it in more detail later in the module. But we're going to look at adding some additional records and some reverse records for looking at the authentication part that we talked a little bit about. In other words, I'm going to add in some web addresses, some www. I'm going to add multiples as though they were load balanced, and then add in multiples for the rDNS as well, just so we can sort of like get an idea of how we can play around with those records to do a setup that will give us the functionality we're looking for. So to begin with, what do we need to do? Okay, what we need to do is we need to create an rDNS zone for this student.co.uk zone that we've created. Now to do that, what we have to do is our rDNS is about IP mapping. So it's about the subnet rather than the student.co.uk, but we're running them on the same network. So what I need to do now is create that rDNS zone. But before I jump in, I want to do a little bit of planning. Now to do that planning, what I need to do is I need to start thinking about where I am and what's happening. So let's take it from my current machine that I'm on. I'm currently on 10.168.100.13. That's my current machine, which is, that's my me.student.co.uk machine. So this machine's on a network. Now it's on a /16 network. So that automatically tells me now that my network address is 10.168. And it also tells me that my host is 100.13. So what can I do with that information to create my rDNS? Well, the way it works is to create the base rDNS. So my base rDNS, what I do is I take my base address and reverse it. So I have 168.10. I then add in the addr.arpa, and now I've got my rDNS. So for my machine, for me, my machine, I've got 10.13. So that will become 100.13. So that will become 13.100. So what does that give me? Well, that gives me a full address of 13.168.10.in-addr.arpa. So that's my fully, with the dot on the end, that's my fully qualified domain name for my rDNS for my machine. And my machine will be me.student.co.uk. So how am I going to build that? Well, my zone file is therefore going to be derived from the subnet. So DB, or sorry, the rDNS the rDNS zone name. Sorry. So the zone file will be db dot, well, it's 10.168, so it's 168 dot, and there it is there. Actually, let's not worry about it. We'll just grab that and we'll bring that down, put it on the end of there, and that's what we've got. Take the dot away from the end and this creates the file for me. There we go. So that'll be my file. Now the zone is actually going to be called, in my zone declaration, so my zone declaration is going to be 168.10.168 ARPA. The file name is going to be that, and my label for this machine in the zone file would be the 13.100. So in effect, what I'm going to have as records, or PTR records, because these are reverse lookups, I'm going to have 13.100, might have a time to live. So let's say it had that as a time to live. it's going to be an in ptr, and then it's going to point to me.student.co.uk. Okay, that's my planning done. So I'm going to have a zone file. I'm going to have a declaration of a zone in the named conf local, and I'm going to end up with labels looking something a bit like that. So I'm going to end up with a zone file with records similar to this. So what I need to do now is I now need to create that for these mappings, of which one of them is going to be me. So I've broken it down and I know what I need to do. So the next thing I need to do is get connected to the server and start building some things. So let's have a look. Now I've made a couple of little changes. Okay, let's have a look. What have I done? Right, what I've done is I've just increased the size of my virtual machine, my virtual desktop machine, and I've changed some font size and colors. Hopefully this will make it a little bit easier to read. Okay, let's do a quick status check on where we're at. So if I go to my machine, open up a terminal, connect to my DNS server. Okay, so that's the DNS server connected to, and here is my local machine. So my local machine, IP4-4A, 10.168.13.3, yep, happy with that. Next one, go to the server, IP-4A, and 192.168.115.50. If we just have a quick look at etc/bind, if we have a look in there, we can see I've got my db student file, so we'll just have a db.student.co.uk. If we look in here, we've got our MEs and IPs, which got a www in there, which we'll have a little play around with later on. But that looks okay. What we've also got in there is our named.conf.local file. And after the last exercises, I actually blocked an address, so I'll need to fix that. So I'll do that now, so then it's done and it's out the way. So sudo nano Northumbria, just clear that using Control K, save that, and then what we'll do is we'll quickly restart the server. So sudo system ctl restart by 9. That seems to have worked. Do a quick test. Tail -150 /r/log/syslog grep named D, just so we can grab some bits. And if we come in here, we can see students loaded. Something I did. Nope, that's fine. I don't need to worry about it. Okay, so that's that done. I've got interesting. Okay, I've already got an rDNS, and that's for localhost. But anyway, we'll come back to that. So let's have a look at our files. Okay, so I've done a quick check. All my IP addresses and everything are fine. Let's go back to the workshop and see what we've got. Okay, create the DNS zone, the rDNS zone. Okay, well that's a multi-stage steps there. So first of all, what we'll do is if we list up the files, what I want to do is I want to add that to our local. So first of all, sudo nano named.conf.local, and in here we've got our student declaration, so I need to add it in here. Quick way of doing that, a little bit of a cheat. Well, it's not a cheat, it's using the editor. If I just go delete those and then undelete twice, I've got a copy. So let's put that zone in. So if I bring back my little help that I've got here, my zone is going to be 168.10 IN address rbar. So let's put that in. So that's 168.10.in adr.rbar. Did I get that all right? Yes, there we go. And then the file will be 168.10.in-addr.rbar. Okay, so I've got my file created. So local net's allowed. IN address arbor 168.10, 168.10, and save that. Next thing I need to do is now create that file. So CP, and then we want to go from the CP, we go db.127 because we're going to replicate the 127. And remember, that's bizarrely a class A for localhost. db.168.10.in-addr.arbor. So file name done, so use sudo, so that should work. ls-la. Oh, I've got two files in there. 168.10, 10, 168. One of them's obviously wrong, and the one that's wrong is db.10. Yeah. So I'm not sure how that got there, but I had to do this. Let's clear that file. rm db10. Okay, ls-la. Let's have a look. That's better. Okay, sudo nano db.168. Right, and we're in. So first things first, we'll leave the TTL for now because we don't have any information for that, but we will have an origin of 168.10.in-addr.arbor. Fully qualified. Next thing, 168.10.in-addr.arbor, and we'll have this as, what is it, just master, can be anything you want really, at student.co.uk. It's the email address of the administrator. Oh, go on, we'll call it admin. Okay, so the administrator is called admin. Serial number, it's set to 1, and what we want to do is set that to the current date. So it's 2020 05 20, and this is the first edit, so that should be about right. Let's check that. 2020 05 January, February, March, April, May 20th, and it's the first edit. Okay, we can leave that. Next one, we name server for this. Well, we'll call that name server is nameserver.student.co.uk. That's where it is, and that can be resolved through the student.co.uk domain name that we've already got on the server. The last bit we want to take out is the first PTR record. Now we can just take this out, or I've already done a little bit of work, so let's add it in. We know that 100.13 is one of our records, and that's for me.student.co.uk. And how do I know that? Well, if I bring this back in, we can see 13.100. Ah, look, I made a mistake. So easy to do. 13.100. That's why I always like to plan. Okay, so name server for the zone, and then this machine. So is anything else I need? No, that'll do fine. So we'll save that. Okay, and now what we need to do is, let's go back to the thing, and we're creating it, and I've created, so let's have a quick check. Cat db.168. That's basically done. So what I'll do now is I'll do a quick test of that. So that's the file. So do a named check zone. And what zone am I checking for? Well, I'm checking 168.10.in-addr.arbor. So I'm checking for that domain name in that file, and it says it's fine. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to force a little error here, because it's not good that it's always right. So if I change that to 192, let's have a look and see what happens. Oh, now I've got no SOA records, no name server records, nothing. So it's not going to get loaded due to errors. Just a minor little thing. So interestingly though, it does do that. It's actually reverse resolved that, but it says it's not in the right zone. 192.168 is not right. Okay, so let's go back in, fix that, because that should be 10. Save that, and it's done. Okay, we know the zone is right. We'll do another quick check. It's right. We'll now go back, do another quick check on namedconf.local. We've got the zone set up there. So we've got 168.10 master. We've got 168.10 allow queries local net. So let's have a look at that now. Let's restart the server. System restart. Let's do a quick check at the end of the file for the loading. Okay, there we go with the named check zone, and lo and behold, that zone is now there and it's loaded as I wanted. So what's the next thing I need to do? That's a good sign. All zones loaded. Okay, and what's the next thing I need to do? So I've got that zone, I've got it in, and now I need to start adding the records. So I've got www, www, etc. So let's have a look at what we've got in sudo nano db dot 168. Okay, so I need to start adding in. Well, I've got to add in a www. And let's quickly have a look. Oh, look what I've done. None of those will be in here. Wrong subnet. Wow. Okay. Let's take them out then. So control. They're not on my subnet, so I can't look them up. Okay. Well, there we go. Now, if I was on that subnet, I can add them. So it's only because I'm not on the subnet. However, test the new zone for errors. We've done that. Check the following queries. Okay, let's have a check for those queries and see what we get. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually look mine up as well. So in here, not only going to look at those up, I'm going to look this up as well. So I'm going to look up my me as well. So we'll save that. Okay, so we've saved that. So let's just do a quick restart on bind so everything's happy. And then what we'll do is we can now jump over to our machine. Okay, so our local machine. So what we'll do here is we'll just quickly open up another terminal and we'll go sudo Wireshark. And that should be Wireshark up and running any second now. There we go. Okay, so there's my network card. So I can capture traffic. There we go. We got some bits and pieces coming through. So I'm happy that I'm capturing traffic. Right, let's go back to this. Do some queries. Now I'm not on the campus network, in the off-campus network in the lab. So what I'll do is I'll do the query for 8888 because I'm not there. And let's see what we get. So let's do a capture, continue, go to my local machine, and I will just flush my cache. There we go. Northumbria. There we go. Okay, so that's my cache flushed. If I go ns lookup, now I'm forcing it off that machine. Oh, have I set the capture going? Yes, I've got the capture going. So if I now go back to this machine and I go ns lookup 8.8.8.8. So 8.8.8 iron address over dns.google. So it's actually pulled that back as the name. Okay, and then let's have a look and see where that query went. So we stop the capture and we filter all the DNS. And if we come all the way down, right, we're going to have to do a contains 8.8.8.8. Ah, no, sorry, Google. So if we come down, google.com, name servers, it's used, and we should get, sorry, what was it? Let's get this right. dns.google. Okay, so dns.google. Let's see what we get when we search for dns.google. Nothing. Let's search for just DNS contains DNS. And we've got our, oh, let's have a look. Right down the bottom here. Query response, no errors. Query was 888888 and the answer was dns.google. So there we go. It's automatically put in the additional parts for the PTR record to get the answer back. So the query was what's 88888 IAN address ARPA. It's come back with a PTR record and it's telling me the answer. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll stop that, restart another capture, and we'll now do a lookup for the return of me. So let's say we do an NS lookup for me.student.co.uk and I get this address. So how can I actually reverse that? Well, one thing I'm going to do is clear the cache, because I don't want this to be coming from the cache. I want it to be wherever it's coming from to come direct. So what I want to do is I want to look up that IP address 10.168.100.13. Now before I do that, let's get sure Google's going. I'm going to clear that. And the next thing I'm going to do is run the query. So now it's going, sorry, run the capture, and I run this lookup. And there we go. It says 13100 ARPA comes back as me.co.uk. Authoritative answers can be found at blank. Well, I know where they can be found. I can go to 10.168.100.150. Before I do that though, if we go to our capture, I can search for DNS. I get an awful lot. But then if I go contains student.co.uk, sorry, just student, what am I talking about? Contains student, I can now find a PTR record. Now all I've got here is the response, because the query was 13.100.169.10 IAN address ARPA, and the answer is there, me.student.co.uk. Now that has came from, if we notice, directly from the server. Okay, so what do we need to do now? I think we should stop that capture. Yes, stop the capture, restart the capture, and what I'll do is I'll run the query again. So I'm just going to do an NS lookup on the address without going directly to the name server. And basically what it's done is, if I now go to Wireshark, contain student, there is nothing there now. Nothing at all. If I go back to this machine and I flush the cache and rerun the query for that, what I'll find is when I go back, my query's back again because it was taken out of the resolver. Okay, now we know it's in the resolver, but what I can do now is I can actually clear the cache, rerun this, put in the IP address of the server itself, and notice it's not saying where I can get an authoritative answer. I now know that's an authoritative answer. So this one came from my local cache, this came directly from the server, and it's actually taken the IP address, converted the IP address to the rDNS address, the fully qualified reverse DNS name, and then resolved it and gave me the URL that's associated with it. And the URL is fully qualified. Okay, what do we need to do next? Okay, this is where we're going to start deviating slightly. Now in the lecture we didn't cover load balancing. This is something we're going to do in a future topic. But what it's asking us to do here is to create a few more entries in the zone, some IP addresses. So what I want to do now is create them and point them as though they're at my local machine, my 10.168.100.13. So we'll put some in. Actually, no, we won't. We'll do it in a little slightly clever way. What we'll do is we'll put these into our subnet. So I'll change the 192 into 10s. So these three IP addresses. Okay. So 3 IP addresses, put these into the local zone, and then we can actually address them. So let's do that now. Okay, let's go to my server, which is here. And in here, what I want to do is I want to add some entries to here. Now, the entries I'm going to add are for 2.101, 3.101, and 4.101. Now they're all going to point to in ptr www.student.co.uk. in ptr www.student.co.uk. Now there's nothing said in here in this right in the workshop to say what we should do with the time to lives. So I'm going to leave them at the default that I've got. Okay, so I've now set up those 3 IP addresses all going to the same URL. So what I'll do is I'll do this the same but in the others. Now, first of all, go in here, update my sequence number, Control X. Oh, just check. Yeah, I've saved them. Now the next thing I'll do is I'm going to put these in forward as well. So I'm going to put these into student.co. So www is no longer going to be a C name. It's now going to be an A record, and that's going to go to 10.168.101.2. But I've also going to have a www for in A record 10.168.101.33. I'm also going to have a www for in A record 10.168.101.4. Now they're all on my network, and that's all pointing to it. So quickly change this IP address. So that's now the 20th, and this is the first change. Save this off. Now what we should be able to do is restart bind. Let's go back to my client machine. Oh, let's have a look. Am I still capturing anything here? Yes, I am. So we'll stop capturing for the moment. Now what we'll do is we will go to our client machine. Now from here, what I now want to do is I want to now do an NS lookup specifically for NS lookup www.student.co.uk. Now what I'll do is I'll get this running and doing a capture right now. So we'll clear my filter. Just clear that filter. Reapply the capture, and what we'll do is we'll filter the DNS in a moment. We'll just run that after we've done this query. So let's run the www. Notice now I'm getting 3 addresses. So let's go back and have a look and see how that worked out. So if we stop that capture, let's do a DNS contains student. I did a search for student. And if we have a look here, we have the query, and then I have the response. And if we notice in my query, I query www, and what it returns with me is it returns the 3 entries, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, let's run that query again, and let's see what happens. And I run it again. And again, and if you notice, I've got them in one order, and then I kept getting them in a different order. Okay, so we'll clear the cache, run the query again, and let's see what we get. 4321, run it again. 2344, run it again. Now that idea of the change is something that we can use for load balancing. Okay, Before we go any further, next thing we want to do is let's do a search on one of those addresses. So we'll do a search on 10.168.101.2. And lo and behold, it tells me that that address there, that IP address, belongs to www.student.co.uk. Likewise, 3 is the same, 4 is the same. And if I go 100.13, I get me. So in effect, what I'm able to do now is I'm able to say, okay, I need some information, and this is the information I want. And I can get it based on IP addresses or URLs or fully qualified domain names. Okay, let's see what one other thing we've got to do now, and limit the access to your rDNS domain so only locally connected clients can access it and run the query from a virtual client. Well, we've done that because we've already put it in, and now what we want to do is block it. So let's go back in, we'll go to the server and we'll block it. So we'll be able to do forward but not reverse. That's the idea here. So let's go in and we do that in our named, just go to it, so we go sudo nano named.conf.local. So in here we want to have it so that our local machines can search and they can search for the rDNS. But now what I'm going to do is block my specific machine just from this. So not 10.168.100.13. So I'll have full use of student, but no use of the reverse lookup. So we'll save that. We'll then restart bind. I should really do the checks. In fact, yes, I will. Let's have a look. We'll do a quick check here. And we can see student has been loaded. Now, something I didn't do. Sorry, something I didn't need to do was actually change the sequence number. I haven't changed the database. I've just changed access control. Okay, then let's go back to my machine. This is where I've been running the queries. Now, first of all, let's clear the cache. We should always clear the cache to be sure we haven't got anything in the resolver that's going to give us false results. Okay, so what I can do now is if I look up www.student.co.uk, I get my answers. Now, they've definitely come from the server. Next time, they've come from my cache. Now what I'll do is I'll try and reverse look up one of those, 10.168.101.2. So now I'm going to try and use the DNS server to do an rDNS lookup. And I can't. So I can do forward lookups, but I can't do reverse from that server. Okay, let's drop out of that. Let's go back into the workshop and see where we're up to. Okay, from the top. Okay, build the rDNS zone. We've done that. We've added a record. We haven't added all these records because we're on a different domain, so I couldn't. But if I was in the laboratory on 192.168 on a /16, I could do it. Or if your network runs on that subnet, then you can do it as well. Next thing I've done is I've tested the zone had no errors, so I did that by doing the reverse lookups, and that worked. And I have ran queries twice. I did 8888, and what I saw was that I could actually do rDNS lookups, and we've also seen that the cache still works even for rDNS. We've then added additional records to our local student, and we've added www to that with 3 addresses, and we just modified these slightly to map in. That's then allowed us to look at load balancing of those 3 IP addresses. What we've then done is we've then gone back in, added the rDNS and run queries, and it all worked fine. It was locked, so it was only local machines could do it. We then blocked the IP address of my machine, and then we tried the reverse DNS. It didn't work, but the forward DNS did. So we're able to control exactly how that DNS works now. Okay, that's pretty much that workshop over. So see you in session 6.